imagine just not having access to food. I mean, food, that's just the basic necessity of life. How can someone not have food? But it's a reality.
And as you've just seen, it's a reality for far too many children at Hammond. You've heard their stories, you've felt their hunger pains, and leading the charge for change is Hammond's principal, Pierrette Peters. We have been through some stuff over these past few months, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
She joins us here. We are bonded now here at WUSA 9 as we continue this Impact Feeding Our Children special report. You know, Principal Peters, each year you have had more and more students who are coming into the school with this food insecurity. What is driving the numbers?
Yes, and you know, as you've learned, 80% of our students are considered free and reduced lunch. And that number is actually up from last year. Last year it was 76%. And so if you equate that to numbers, we have 1,450 students, but 1,100 of those students have a huge need. And we look at it in terms of resources. For some students, it's food. For some students, it's backpacks, it's school supplies. As we go into winter months, it's winter clothing. And so we know that, you know, we have a very transient area in Alexandria, but although our story is being featured right now, I'm just the one principal representing it for my school. There are principals all over our district and all over our school, you know, Washington, D.C. and Maryland, who actually have to deal with this on a consistent basis and figure out problems to make sure that every student succeeds. You know, we want to ensure that teaching and learning continues, and so that's our main goal, that when students walk in the door, we can level the playing field for them, no one knows, and they can go on about learning for the day.
Now we know that there are local and regional agencies that were aware of this program, but we are hearing from so many people, both on social media and into our phone bank, who live around Hammond, who have been in Alexandria, who are shocked into action today.
Absolutely. Last night, actually, I had my PTA meeting, and many of the mothers, they said we had no clue. And, you know, that can, in a way, is a good thing. I don't want anyone to walk into our building and have our students feel like you can have this resource, but you can't have this resource. So we want everyone to have the same resources. And so our students are going to benefit immensely from this impact project.
You have talked about how every child should have a chance to succeed, and at your school you've had to do some things to adapt. You started this breakfast program. It was set out to really address the need because so many kids were coming to school running on empty at the beginning of the day. But there was one thing standing in the way of its early success.
I think that it's become a little bit of an equalizer. A part of the reason that they didn't go downstairs was because, oh, I don't want to, the breakfast is gross. I don't want to go get the breakfast. It wasn't gross. It was awesome, but they didn't want to be seen as going to get it.
It's when they had breakfast in the cafeteria, where free and reduced lunch and breakfast, a lot of kids wouldn't go because of the stigma.
It's very tricky, especially with this age, how we can actually get this food into their hands.
So once you realized that there was this stigma attached to getting this most important meal of the day, you made some changes and it's working.
Absolutely. We started breakfast in the classroom, and so the way we were doing breakfast initially was very divisive. Students who did not eat breakfast at home, the free and reduced lunch students, went to the cafeteria, and then everyone else went to another location until class began. And so we want to foster a sense of community in our school. I have the most amazing teachers that help support our breakfast in the classroom program, and so it's a breakfast after the bell program. When the 8:30 bell rings, everyone eats breakfast. I have some teachers that even eat breakfast with students. We've empowered students into leadership. We have breakfast ambassadors so that students feel like they have ownership on the program, and it has definitely made a difference in our school community, and also our kids know that we care.
You know what, those breakfast ambassadors, they are so impressive.
They are.
When we talked with them to a person, they said, we should all care about this because it could be us. It could be your niece, it could be your nephew, it could be your child. And as a community, we gotta be better than this. And I was just so moved at how in tune they are also with this need and really pulling together as a community. at such a young age.
That is true, and I believe that is something that my teachers foster. Service learning is very important to us, and the students have to understand why we're doing this breakfast program. And so because everyone does it, it's not as if we're doing it for one person and not for the other. And so they understand the reasons why we're doing it, why breakfast is important. We want to feed their minds so that they're ready for learning and ready for teaching.
These kids are learning really powerful lessons at an early age. And I can only imagine that from here, they will walk out into the world with a greater sense of their purpose and the importance of paying their lives forward. So they received a gift, and you just got to believe that they're going to continue to pass that on.
Yes, I want them to look back on their middle school experience very fondly. I want them to remember the staff members, remember their classmates, but also remember that at some point they have to give back to their school or to their school system or to their community. They have to.
They sure will. You have been an amazing champion, as have your teachers and staff and administrators. Pierrette Peters, thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you.
The community is so very grateful. I got to tell you, we have raised to this point $25,000. And this is
that is
just
amazing. No,
extraordinary. And coming up